Alright, welcome back to the Supercoach Nuff channel. In this video, we're going to preview round 8 of the 2025 NRL Supercoach season. So I am recording this a little bit early on Wednesday night, given that after work tomorrow, basically I will be getting fired up and heading out to Suncorp to watch the Dogs hopefully continue their undefeated run to start the year. So there may be some late changes that I'm not aware of, but what we'll do is we'll have a look at the time of recording, what everyone is thinking in terms of trades and in terms of captaincy, and then we will lock in our trades and go from there. So in terms of the trades, let's look at the trade outs first. And so three of the top four are Broncos against the Bulldogs. I think that's smart. So Jesse Arthurs is a chop, absolutely cash out on him. He's made you 150k, put it in the bank. Reece Walsh obviously injured, so has lost you a bit of money if you started with him, but you do have to let him go, unfortunately. And Shibasaki has been massive, made 270k. I traded last week, so I got a little bit more, but I think now is the time to get out of that pick. And sandwiched in between them, Tom Jenkins, another one who has probably peaked in price. So you can potentially get rid of him if he is the sort of last or the sort of you haven't got these Broncos guys essentially. Jaden Campbell at number 5. So here's one I'm going to suggest holding. Obviously, it's a lot of money in the bank or a lot of money on the bench that you could potentially put in the bank. I guess my reason for holding is I don't know if there's any other 5/8 options I'm super keen on at the moment. So if we just quickly filter out some 5/8s. I said quickly, there we go. So I guess Cam Munster would be an obvious target for some, but he's going to play Origin, so that's a trade in and probably then a trade out. And then if you do want him at the end of the year, it's probably a trade in. So, you're really using 3 trades there. Dylan Brown on the bye this week, so perhaps one for next week. But obviously we're looking at trading it this week. Lockie Galvin back in the team, but surely it doesn't sort of sit right with the whole drama going on there. Does he get as much ball as you would hope? I don't know if NRL players are that petty, but I'm sure we'll find out this weekend. Trindle, sort of more of an organising type pick. Ethan Strange, does have a bit of upside in him, but, the average of 50 is probably representative of where he's at. Harris Tavita, so I guess, he's going well. He's made 150k this year. But if most people, have Metcalf, you can see 30%. Probably not most, that's poor English, but I don't know if you can have both your 5/8s from the same club. Luke Brooks, second banana to DCE. Flanagan's more of an organising half. Brimson was like the ultimate pod play. Ben Hunt's struggling for a bit of form there. Adam Dewey back to the centres. Maybe that is a good thing, but again, not too sure there. Nikorema's playing okay, but again, most of the stuff goes through Katoa. Tom Dearden is one I have thought about. But at the moment, with Harry Grant's injury, I see him as the 14 for Queensland because he can sort of do a bit through the middle, obviously cover the halves, that sort of thing. So I'm hesitant to bring him in. KO Weeks isn't doing it at fullback. Blaze Talangi is very risky. Matt Burton, I think, is going to feature in the 18 jersey for New South Wales. So one you would have to trade out during Origin. Jerome Luai at bargain basement prices. Cody Walker, you could say the same for him. So yeah, like that's I'm not too sure where people are really going with that 5/8 position. As I said, I'm not willing to burn the trades on Munster, and I think there's a few question marks over the alternatives. So for me, I would suggest holding Campbell if you can, but obviously his money can help you upgrade elsewhere. I'll just clear the filter so we can actually see all the options for captaincy. So Harry Grant out for at least 4 weeks. So I think he is a trade. Lockie Hubner, so probably one you could hold because he should only be out for 1 week. Um, but if you want to use that money, there is a couple of downgrade options. Obviously, if you can upgrade him to a keeper second rower, go for it. Jack Howarth, what his was a shoulder, wasn't it? So out till round 12. So yeah, probably a trade. Iongi, so I guess yeah, you got a bit of a price rise leading into the buy. He has made 260k, which is I guess surprising. What's his break even? I can't remember. 53. So yeah, I guess he could potentially hit that next week, but could be again the perfect time to get out of him. And Tui Pilotu, I guess if you didn't already do so, you can trade him out. Um, I think if you hold him this week, though, you're pretty much committing to hold him until he comes back from injury. Trade ins this week. It's a bit slow on a Wednesday night. I should have recorded this Thursday. Billy Smith, number one. I think that's, cheapie of the week. Absolutely makes sense. Um, it looks like that's the preferred backline now. They're all fit and firing. Dom Young is going to go back to New South Wales Cup for a bit. So bring in Billy Smith. Dylan Lucas, I guess if you are looking for a keeper in the centre wing, I don't hate that as an upgrade target. Connor Watson is one I would like to bring in, but again, I'm just concerned about his origin selection, which I think then you have to trade out and trade back in. So is he worth 3 trades? Not convinced. Greg Marzu, so obviously about to make a bit more money. Has bottomed out in price. So Newcastle do have a good buy coverage. So if you haven't got him, bring him in. Jacob Kiraz, yep, bring him in. He's about to go up in price. I can feel he's going to have a big one tomorrow night. Get on board. Scott Drinkwater's an interesting one. Probably a few people upgrading Iongi. And I guess with what was his name? Tom Duffy out of the team. He's back goal kicking, and we did like him as a goal kicking fullback option in the preseason. So yeah, bring him in. I think the Cowboys have the bye in round 12, but then after that, their bye coverage is immaculate. So if you can hold for that first bye, I think Drinky is a good option now, or you can just get him after that bye, obviously. Farnworth, so I bought him in last week. He's a looks like a keeper in the centre wing. Bring him in. Nathan Cleary, yeah, he's back. Bring him in. You're paying 50k more than last week, but do it. Ryan Pappenhausen, yeah, I think he's playing well enough and probably far enough down the Origin totem pole. I did hear a couple people suggest that his speed could be a bit of a factor as a smoky for New South Wales. But surely they give Edwards first crack if he's fit. And Cam Munster, as I said, a bit like Connor Watson, if you're willing to use 3 trades, do it. But I think I'm going to try and be a little bit smarter and save some trades. In terms of captaincy this week, we'll look at what the top guys are doing because they know more than me still, despite my good score last weekend. If it'll ever work. So the top 2 options up the top, Nathan Cleary and Ryan Pappenhausen. So excuse me, against South last week, the Bulldogs looked pretty good. So um, you know, Melbourne might be able to take advantage of that South defence as well. But I guess a lot of people very keen on Cleary after his bounce back last week against the Roosters. Payne Haas in the first game might be a few people like myself just sort of leaving the captaincy there at the moment. But I guess some people do like to just set and forget the captain and leave it. I think he will do a fair bit of work against the Bulldogs. He might fancy himself against the smallish pack, but they will definitely be swarming him. So not for me, but I can understand it. Terrell May in the last game of the round, sort of like real safe captaincy option. James Tedesco, Friday afternoon footy. So I haven't checked the weather, but if it's dry, I think he is a great VC option. Scott Drinkwater, so Titans, leaking a few Supercoach points. So if you've got him, makes sense to have him in the conversation. Nicho Hynes against the Tigers. Yeah, again, last game of the round. Makes sense. Gutho, so I guess we just set on the dry track against Tedesco. Against the Roosters, sorry, not just Tedesco. Makes sense to consider him. Can see a very popular VC option. Munster, again, if you go on him, you might as well back him in against Souths. And Dylan Edwards, 10th best option. Might be a few people following the score last week. It's not to say you can't do it again, but yeah, I think there's got to be better options than that, surely. VC, let's see if there's anyone different. So the top six we've all discussed. Jacob Kiraz, I think in my initial round review video, I locked in him as a VC. Probably will change, but love it. Kalen Ponga, I guess people getting off the pick this week. It's always a great time to go against the grain, and if he does go big against the Warriors, you'll be absolutely cheering. Val Holmes, another nice VC option early in the round in that Friday Arvo fixture. So, in terms of my team this week, not a lot has changed since the initial trades that I proposed. So, we are getting rid of Skelton. Hopefully, there we go. So slow tonight. And we'll go to break evens just to get Billy Smith in. So that's the first move. Happily lock that in. The second move, as we said, we are going to get rid of Corey Pakes. And I guess for a lot of it, Billy Smith, any fear of going in? There we go. So I'll go back to the summary if it wants to load for me. So I had talked about Cam McInnes as a super safe option. This 58 average is pretty much what you can expect to clock from him. But then I thought about it, and the truth is, on 50k, I probably can't afford to play it too safe. So what I'm thinking this week is I'm going to go with Wade Egan. Because he's averaging 65, offers that little bit of extra upside. He can create tries. He can, the little dummy and scoot close to the line, get a try himself. So at a similar price point, I'm going to go for that little bit of upside. The Warriors have named a 4-forward bench, so I imagine he'll play 80. Obviously, they do have Aaron Clark, who's played a bit of hooker in the past, but they do seem to like him as that link forward at 13. So, bit of a pot play, I suppose, with Wade Egan, but we're going to see how that goes. So once that updates with those changes, we'll look at the team for this week. So I guess from what we've got here, these two reserve spots are pretty well locked in. We do need to find another reserve with Iongi on the bye this week. Um, so we could look at the Roosters guys against the Dragons. The fact it's in the afternoon means there could be some more attack. The question is, which side do they lean towards? And the Dragons' edge defense isn't the worst with Holmes and Sully out there in the centres. We could look at Sandon Smith. So if Billy Smith's scoring the tries, Sandon would be inside him doing a lot of the providing, perhaps. Um, could just lock in Dylan Egan as a bit of a safer score. Probably, will potentially start again and do what he does. Um, Tom Jenkins obviously hasn't done fantastic on the wing, but against Manly, not the strongest defence, but not the worst by any stretch. So it's just really debating on these sort of last two reserve spots. But I guess what I'm thinking is I'm going all in on the left edge. So I'm going to go with Billy Smith, and I'm going to go with Sandon Smith. So yeah, and I guess like I said, I am going all in on the Roosters. So James Tedesco is the VC. Probably makes the most sense. Into Terrell May as captain. Keep it nice and safe. Plenty of time to loop around. Um, so I guess the loop would end up being something like I need to put Smith on field, so I can probably fade. Well, guess it's a tough one. I might have to. That's not really going to work either, is it? So Hughes, Cleary plays a bit later. So it's probably a case of, yeah, I guess when does South play? Friday night. So I guess I'm probably not doing too much on Friday. I can probably make that work. Like bring Hubner in for a Horsburgh perhaps, and yeah, we'll probably just end up fading to Marley in that case. Or well, I guess we could swap Iongi in with Ponga. I know that's a bit too tight, that one. So it's going to be something like that, I think. So Tamale will drop out. We can use the loophole if we need to. But I think that's the team going into it this week. So wrap the video up there. As always, if you've got any questions, comments, thoughts, feel free to add them below this video. Give us a like if you enjoy the Supercoach content. Subscribe for all the fantasy sports content on the channel. And other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.